lie, no, sir.
No.
We can have 1 million people blurting out the right answer. It's one prize. Correct? So how do we determine who to give? We have to wait and be pointed out. No, sir? For it to be kind of fair. You need a central mic? No, man, I can point you out and you will get one. Fair enough? Let me. Oh, police in it, you know. Watch here. Watch here. It's good in there. I'm gonna book the. Oh, you're more can what this then. Oh dear. Yes, thank God. So me not to envy the person. No. I'll give you 1 plus a golden pen. If you can answer this for me. Correct? Mm-hmm. Mm-mm. Who wants to answer the question? Select yourself from now. No, because we're having problems. You want to go with this question, correct? The person who wants to answer, come, we'll line up. Come, one person come. One person come. If you see when we do it the other way, we have war. No, we have peace. And we can't get support. You see why we have the violence, right? Who wants to take this? You get a mission? Brilliant. Great. You realize everybody has declined to take this one. If you blurt the question out, it will not be given the prize. Get it? Oh, you're sabotaging from already? There are saboteurs in the house. For men, there's a number. Domestic, tell me. 6 seconds gone. Right here. No, you got a chance to come down here. No. 553. The rules are clear. You answer within 3 seconds. He was the one for the question. He couldn't. Next question. He no answer. You understand? If you want to answer the question, put up your hand and come. Don't quarrel then if you get counted out. Fair enough? Remember, we're moving to the other segment and we're filling out nicely, aren't we? Welcome, sir. Nice. You ready for it? All right. Listen closely. If you try to help him, we will have what we call mistrial. This is one. So don't blurt the answers out, please. Fair enough? You're on trial now. Listen closely. We have 4 of them only. They are deemed shelters for men. Can you name at least one parish that I can find one? Yes, you have killed him again. You have killed him again. And he was about to win. Yes, and tell me.
St. Catherine.
We not have none. We not have none yet. I'm still on just tell you, so we're not getting none yet, but we're getting. We're working on it. Somebody told you, but me not wrong here. Don't believe no. Right, the book here hard rule, Mr. Land, because wasn't that the easiest question? And him, Squaddy was saying, no, interested. Oh, yeah, they help me. It's a nice book, you know, Mr. Police in there. Jesus. Who wants to answer the question? We must move on. We want to give away the book. Where's the camera? No, for the audience, far flung. It's a domestic violence. Let me start by reading properly. Jamaica Constabulary Force, domestic violence, eye care, intervention, counseling, awareness, response, empathy, and book. Me like it. We commend it because we see police in there and others too. Please win it. No. Who wants the answer? Comfort. Get Indian. Great job. No. Absolutely. There's one for women too. What's the number?
553-0372.
Yes, yes. Hold on. I'll give you that. Hold on, see if I get a golden pen. No, sir.
Oh yeah, that's a
Is she right?
great.
She right? What went wrong? You not put 876.
No. She did.
Good job. Wrong. All right. So in order for you to be rewarded, you have to first apologize for not getting it right, and then get it right. So apologize for not getting it right. Go ahead. Just say apologize, man. Our apology.
I apologize.
Sharp, get it right now, do.
Right now. All right. 876-553-0372.
Yes. Yes. Well on, Canberra. Miss Dillon, come make the presentation for me, do. Let's do this. It's a nice booking of police in there, you know, miss. Are we giving you a golden pen to you know? Yes. I was told that information in there too. Give her credit too. Oh, yes. Yes. Congratulations. Great job. All right, we'll replace it. Just keep. No. All right. We are back to Broadcast Central and we are going to move the program along. At this segment, remember, we were tying up and we showed you a video through Mr. Notice. And it's so sad because most times when you watch a documentary, it's about somebody else's life. Rarely we are ever there when the personalities are there too. We're living this as if we were there because they are here. Thank you for sharing your life with us. Story, most people would hide or succumb to this story. For therapeutic purposes, you have decided to let us into your home, into your private life. We thank you. May I ask you to return to us now, where we can move to complete this aspect. Sir, again, over to you.
Thank you. I'm live.
Brilliant.
Okay, so just to finish up on some of the things that we talked about earlier, I wanted to know if there was any questions before I move further. We got someone back?
Get a mic. Oh.
Yeah, man, I have one. My concern is a concern and a question. I noticed at the end of the video, you had moved to get some things done proactively. My question, I don't know if you or police or DPP can answer it, is for us now, where do we move to get those kind of preemptive measures done? Is it on the legislative side or is it on the operational side to get the standard operating procedure for dealing with the DVs properly?
I'm gonna give you the answer that I know. The answer I know is you have to start with legislators to get the law right. And whatever you need to get the job done has to be explained, has to be spelled out. In my particular case, I was able to give everything possible to what was needed to make the law effective. And what was given was the simplest thing, as a doctor needs to be notified, a doctor needs to be trained, a social worker needs to be involved, they need to be trained, a judge needs to be involved, they need to be trained. And so what happened is there was a rollout process where we brought Jacqueline Campbell, and she basically created the danger assessment. And she presented to the judges, to the senators, to the courts, and everyone possible in a general way of explaining how we're going to implement. Because one thing that I'm going to recommend, and I hope that I get a chance to sit with someone regarding this, is that you have a GPS system written in the law, but it's not being implemented. And one of the reasons for that is, I think there needs to be more explanation given as to how it can be used. Because the only person that can implement that is a judge. And if the judge don't have the documentation and know that he can do this, sometimes he's going to be hesitant because you're taking away somebody's liberty. But at the same time, I explain it in such a way. If you can afford to commit domestic violence, you can afford to pay for your GPS unit and get your freedom if you want to, based on the case that's in front of you. So if you have a GPS on you, now we're going to monitor you because that's what you wanted. And so if that's needed, it's got to be in the law. So the best possible way from an administrative standpoint, yes, you have to have a general order as to how you're going to be uniformly responding to this domestic violence. One question I have, and this is a question to you, is do you have a central database where I can go to and I can search an individual and see everything about them?
Intel, that answers the question.
Intel. So the average police officers don't have that? Okay, I think that would be a good tool for them to have access. Now, there's abuse that takes place. So it has to be monitored as to the reason why you're going there to look at this individual. And so that's one of the things that was instituted, is that each officer has to go into the NCIC, which is the national database in America, to look up an individual. You have to give justification as to why you're doing it. You can't do it for a friend, because you're going to have to respond and tell us why you're doing it. So a central database would be very, very crucial to your operation, because when an individual come to you like James had a background, and I have those rap sheets. I think I should pull them past around so they can look at it. This guy had an extensive history, but there was no protocol that when a guy comes to you, reports a case, you run a background, you see who you're dealing with, you know the answer before you ask him the questions. That didn't happen. But Tiana went and says, I didn't do it. He said she did it. And instantly, the officer did an NCIC check on Tiana. So now, someone asked me this question. Is it easier for a man to get things done than a woman? No, in general. I said in general. Is it easier for a man to get the job done than a woman? Across the board. And you're going to tell me something that I already know, but go ahead. You put it as depends. Okay. So if equal, you have the same profile, have the same understanding, you're saying it depends? Everything is the same. Huh? Woman's gonna get it done. Okay. All right. So here's the thing. Most likely, the woman is gonna get it done. Okay? Because the mentality of a woman is planning. The mentality of a man is getting it done. That means hurry up and get it done. And then after he makes his mistake, he's gonna say, Jesus, I should have thought about it. The woman thinks about it before she makes that move. Okay? So yes, there's equal, but it's not equal. And one of the reasons why I asked that question is, it was easier for me to get the laws changed in Connecticut after 30 years of trying. Okay? After 30 years of trying. And the reason why I was able to do that is because I was able to walk into the door as a person of power. Okay? And I was not questioned as to why I was there. I went to the governor's office. I tell the story, yes, I went to the governor's office and I was able to walk right into the governor's office and get a chance to speak to the governor on the spot. Not done. Okay? But because I was a man walking through that door, have a little power, the secretary in the office went to the governor and says, Mr. Notice wants to speak to you. And the governor says, hold on, call me right in. I have pictures with the governor. Let me take a picture because I wanted my evidence that I was there. So, yes, you can get things done, but the laws are made by who? Men. So who enforces the law best? Men. So how do you change that? How do you change things when the disadvantage is there? You use a man. Okay? But at the same time, the more females that gets involved in the laws, senators, representatives, and so on and so forth, it's the best it is for you because you have more people speaking. And that's what it is. And so I do see a lot of females getting into politics, which is good. And that's how you're going to change things. That's how you're going to get things done. And so best possible way right now is to get your laws up to that piece that's needed for you to be effective in your policing. And I'm here to say that with my experience, I can offer as much as I know, but I can't make your government do what they don't want to do. And the reason why I say your government, it's my government too, because I was born here, but I can't make them do the things. I can make recommendations based on what I've learned and based on what I've known to work. There's still a little bit more needed, and it was mentioned that the laws need to be tweaked a little bit more to make it better. But at the same time, it has to have 5 C's. And in my field, there was 5 C's that I deal with. Anybody know about the 5 C's? All right. So here's what the 5 C's is. The law's got to be clear. It's got to be correct. It's got to be concise. It's got to be courteous. And it's got to be complete. And so that's your 5 C's. It has to be clear for you to interpret and enforce. It has to be clear to the perpetrator that these are the things that's going to happen to you if you violate it. And when we speak of a perpetrator, we mostly talk about men because your numbers reflect that more men are committed domestic violence than women. And so that's why it's always the men. Okay? Quick numbers. 9% of domestic violence victims are murdered. It's just unfortunate for me that Tiana was one of those 9%. But 69% of your domestic protection order are violated. So even though you get that order in place and serve to that individual, he's going to violate it. There's no ifs and buts about it. But how do you hold him accountable? You're going to hope that the victim is going to report. But guess what? I gave this number yesterday. It takes about 7 incidents before that victim will actually come forward and want to do something. So you may have to see that person 7 times in your office. Okay? And you say, well, I just had you in the office a month ago. Yeah, you know. But you have to keep doing your job. Because all you have to do is get the golden pen and it'll just write for you. Okay? You have to document. You have to document. So the documentation has got to be clear. It's got to be correct, concise, courteous, and complete. Once it's completed, it doesn't mean that you're going to have what you need to move forward, but it's documented. And what I would say to a victim is, if you don't want to move forward, at least allow me to document this. Okay? At least allow me to document this. But it's documented and is noted. At the same time, you can also say, put it on your cell phone. Send it to a friend. You got WhatsApps, you got all kind of links. Send it to a friend. And if we need it, we can always recover it. So that's one thing that can be offered. Looking back, and I don't have to explain to you what domestic violence is because it's already been mentioned, but knowing where we're going today, if the law doesn't support every angle that the perpetrator is going to utilize to perpetrate what he's doing, is going to be a disadvantage for you. Technology has gone way and above. And you heard in the tape wherein James gave Tiana a telephone. He was tracking Tiana with that telephone. He also changed Tiana's name and have her sending him messages. This guy was good. You know what I mean? But most abusers are good because they've been doing it for so long and they learned it at home. So understand that you deal with an individual that's well prepared and probably more prepared than you are because you're going to have limited information when you meet this individual. Unless the victim is giving you the details, you're not going to get it because they won't share it unless their back is against the wall. And what I mean by that, their last resort. And so, to clear it up, if I can offer my experiences, because that's what I have, my know-how of getting things done, all I need is for somebody to listen to me. They don't have to follow through, but I'll just share what I feel is going to be best for you. And so, for me, I used to work in corrections. And before I left corrections, I was able to train all the correction officers about domestic violence. Then I started training police officers and pretty much traveling all over the US, implementing the new law that was put in Connecticut. We have about 15 or maybe 18 states that adopted that law. And just about 2 weeks ago, I got a call from Kentucky. They want me to come down and help them implement what we did in Connecticut. And so I'm constantly working on the phone, trying to get things done. And Jamaica is no different. I was born here, grew up here, left here, went to the US, and the cards are right for me. And so now it's my job to offer what I can for you. And so leaving here, I'm available by cell phone. I'm available by email. And if there's anything that I can do to open a door for you to get something done, please don't be afraid to share it. Please don't be afraid. And without not thanking this person, I'll be remiss. She wants to be called Sharon. But I reached out to Ms. Colburn Robinson. And I said to her, I says, you know, I understand that they're doing something relative to domestic violence in Jamaica. I was here 3 weeks ago in St. Thomas at the Dallas Methodist Church doing a presentation. And the day when I was ready to leave, I got the call from her. And what I said to her is, at a moment's notice, I'll be here. Just give me a date. I waited for a date. And I think it was about a week before I was given a date. That's a short order. But I did commit myself at a moment's notice. So what I did, I closed my business for the time I'm here. I got myself and my wife plane tickets, and I'm here. So it means a lot to me to be able to share Tiana's story with you. And what you saw there, everything was true. It was not made up because I was a part of that. And I wanted to make sure everything they portrayed was accurate as can be. And so I do have a 27-page report on my website. Now, I passed out some little handouts, and all you have to do is get the QR code, which takes you to the website. That website, 3 weeks ago, I didn't have anything dedicated to Jamaica. And I called my IT guys and I says, I want something dedicating domestic violence in Jamaica. Give me the tools that I can share and people can see it. And they said, well, it's a short moment. I said, I want it done. It was done. So there is room for you to pick up things. The laws and the addendums that was just done are on the site. The bail law is on the site. Deputy Dillon is on the site. As a matter of fact, I pointed out to the deputy commissioner, I says, I had a chance to meet her. He said, how do you do that? I said, I researched her before I came. I knew everything about her before I came. And so as a past investigator, I know that if I'm going to have a conversation with you, I'm going to know more about you than you know about me. Okay? So when I ask you questions, I already know what the answer is. And that's what a good investigator does. Research the person that's in front of you, making sure they don't make a fool out of you. And that's what a DV perpetrator does. They try to make a fool out of you. You see him wearing, James played 3 different police departments. And he played them really, really good. And so that's there. And it's never going to stop. But I say this, just like you learn how to be a criminal, you can unlearn if you want to. In this case, he didn't want to unlearn. He wanted to continue doing the things he did until he murdered Tiana. Thought he was going to get away with it. Quickly, James went to Tiana's house that night on February 14th, Valentine's Day, called 2 locksmiths and says, I'm locked out of my apartment. Can you open up the doors for me? He was going to stab Tiana in her house, lock the door, and we'll never know who did it. Yes, we'll probably figure it out after a while. But that was his plan. He was premeditated. After he received that call from an officer that says, hey, I got some email. Can we talk about that? He said, don't tell the cops. But the officer wasn't thinking because he thought, I'm an investigator. I'm going to use my techniques with this guy. We have some emails here. And if we found out you wrote these emails, we're going to come get you. 20 minutes later, he was at Tiana's house killing her. So be careful how you approach. Because if you give them a hint that you're on to them, flight or fear. And chances are, he was fearing, I'm going to jail. Because now the law was against him. He was going to go for a long time. But he ended up going for a long time, 60 years in jail. He was 28 at the time. Put the numbers together. 89 years old. I'll be 102. No, I'll be older than that. But I want to thank you for your time. Thank you for the invite. And hope that I can continue to work with you. Hope I can continue to work with Deputy Dillon in her, I'd call it adventure. Trying to do what it takes to keep perpetrators accountable. And this training is offered for you to have an insight of what it's going to take. It's not going to be a cakewalk, I can tell you that. I mentioned about the 7 incidents before the victim comes. It's quite some time, a lot of paperwork. Don't turn them away. So, my idea is to propose a GPS law in Jamaica. You already have it. I don't have to propose it. Just the implementation, I got to propose. Guess what? It's already written. All I need is for somebody to read it and says, we'll take bits and pieces out of it. If it's not appropriate for what I have people in places that can make it right, and I can present it to whomever I have to present it. Meaning, I have Harvard Law School, and you saw in the video, Diane Rosenfeld, who I call, and I say, okay, I'm going to the state of Ohio. Can you look up what they're doing? And can I be briefed? And so when I meet with the folks, I can say, these are the things that you're falling short on. These are the things that we need to work on. How best can we help? This is not going to be, well, this is what you have to do. That's not how I do it. Because I can never force my beliefs on anyone, but I can force my experiences because I've been there, done it, seen it, and I've dealt with criminals for 34 and a half years. So thank you for your time. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Check. All right.
Yes. Return.
Absolutely spot on. And it's through lived experiences that sometimes we are able to transfer knowledge. And what better person to have come here and said it the way he did? Because most of us will be pontificating on other people's experiences, correct? But what we got, and I hate to use it, but it came from his mouth, correct? The police, you are here predominantly, and you are invited not because we are celebrating our 10th year as the National Police College of Jamaica and the many successes that we have. And we're expecting to get. We have a lot of faculties. And I see Mr. Ogilvy right here. May I ask you to just at least walk beside me, please? I'm inviting, can you give some slow hand claps, please? Great. Now, Mr. Ogilvy, especially, yes, thank you. Great. He is currently in place at the college as a commandant. Now, we will tell you a little about what commandant is, no so? Brilliant. So I'll just have him say what his post is, what the faculty does under his command as the commandant. And then we'll continue to explore Team NPCJ, and we'll do it and then intersperse it with DSP Dillon's presentation, and then we do the other faculties. And then we go into the department, because I am saying this into being, I just wrote it, that where I'm sitting is the Department of Criminal Investigations Training. But I wrote on it the Faculty of Criminal Investigations Training. So it's no longer going to be a department because I've written it with the golden pen. All right. Mr. Ogilvy, please use the moment, please. Thanks.
All right, thank you very much, SP Berry, for affording me the opportunity. So the Faculty of Recruitment and Probationers Training is responsible for turning people into police. In other words, we transform people from civilians to police officers. Largely, we operate from 4 campuses: the main campus, Twickenham Park, Tranquility Way in St. Elizabeth, Camp Verley in St. Catherine, also, and Harmon Barracks in Kingston. We also have responsibility for the probationary training and training division. So I'll break it down a little bit further. I also manage the Cadet Academy, which recently came back on stream. So we have recently embarked on a project to have young men between the ages of 15 to 18 who are doing well in school, but also help them to transition into becoming productive adults. It's not a program that is designed to correct behavior, because we are actually taking people who are productive, doing well in schools, taking them here as cadets, and allow them to matriculate until the age of 18. They have the option at the age of 18 to either transition to the police force or to go on to other careers. So it's not mandatory that they become police officers. Then we have the 4 campuses, as I mentioned, which is responsible for training the members to become law enforcement officers, to enforce the laws and to ensure, like we mentioned earlier today, that 20 members of the staff were upskilled recently as trainers for gender-based violence to treat those issues. So we are largely responsible for upskilling, training the persons, giving them necessary tools and skills and competencies to be able to operate as law enforcement officers. We are transformers. Recently, we adopted the motto, standards are us. In other words, we believe that we are the standard bearers of the organization. It starts here. And if we inculcate the right attitudes, values in the people, that they are able to transition that out there to enforce the laws. So once they are finished with their basic training, which lasts for 4 months, they transition into the training division. why was the training division created? It was created to ensure that once they finish the basic training, they go out in the divisions which are not necessarily high crime ridden areas to allow them to transition into policing skills, but to allow them to gain the confidence also by virtue of their exposure and interaction with customers. They're able to develop confidence to better be able to understand the challenges that will be faced by them out there in the real world. So when they come back to graduate after that, which is managed by Mr. Matthews, once they come back and they're graduated, they go into their probationary phase, which lasts until 2 years. Again, that is managed by Mr. Matthews, and we manage the process by ensuring that they are able to successfully matriculate through the exams, as also ensuring that their behavior is in keeping with what is expected of a constable for them to transition, having the right attributes to be able to treat with policing. We understand that we are operating in a very contemporary society with very complex issues, as we are speaking about domestic violence and these other issues. And so training is being transitioned to ensure that we are able to capture those issues that they may encounter and to be able to deal with them effectively. So the curriculum is still being worked on, and we are continuing to work as we evolve to make sure that we are able to meet the challenges in a society that requires us to adapt and to operate in a world that requires the changes that are existing. So that's basically it about what we do, and we continue to ask for your support, because your feedback also helps us to know what is out there and what is it that we need to do to ensure that we are equally able to manage and master what we are doing to prepare the people as best as possible. Feedback is important, so when you see something happening out there, don't be afraid to tell us what is it that you're seeing so that we can take corrective actions and be able to better prepare our police officers. That's what we do, and we hope that we'll continue to have support not only from the internal customers, but also from our external partners to be able to manage as best as possible what we do. So thank you very much, sir, for affording me the time.
Absolutely brilliant. Brilliant. And on top of that, he does more than that. Trust me, he does. He does. And I appreciate you, sir. Is there any other faculty leader here? All right, so we have a department called the Department of Force Recruitment. And you will appreciate that, as it says, correct? Those people who are aspiring to become will have to go through a phase process. One, that you make your application form, send them in, be polygraphed, etc., 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 before you come to say that I'm no one that wants to really protect and serve. We congratulate them. We will get the clap soon. I'll take them. Fair enough? Indeed, we have a curriculum coordination unit, and we are all going up because we are ISO 9001 certified. We are with ART and STA, and we are with the University Council. As a college, we are stepping up big things. And as a consequence of that, we had to implant a curriculum, the curriculum coordination unit, a unit that ensured that the curriculum is up to date. The difference with the JCF, the National Police College, and all other tertiary institutions is simply that one day we could have a curriculum, and the other day we have to tear it up. I give a quick example. On November 1, 2022, we enacted the New Firearms Act, and it revamped totally what was the old law. At the Department of Criminal Investigations training, we were training people that searches Section 42 under that old law. And by November 1, we were this October 31st, we were telling them it's Section 42. And by November 1, midnight, we say, hold on, it's Section 90 of a new law. And not only that, things have changed. You no longer have firearms like that, but it's now a prohibited weapon, rip-up. So it's a moving scenario, and the curriculum development unit plays a part to keep us on track to make it work in that regard. We have the Faculty of Leadership and Professional Development. That's where we do advanced training. So you'd have to graduate already. And if not, become an officer in JCF, because though we train junior ranks sometimes at the faculty, it's really for advanced officer type training. So you may see, and may I ask you to stand again, PP. May I ask the high potential in the house to stand? And I tell it two different groups. You notice how they are dressed, huh? One in uniform, one in no uniform. So these individuals, we hope in the nearest of the future, correct? I've written it with a golden pen, will be the newest officers in the JCF. Well, all inspectors know. However, the pen wrote it. It means, therefore, that the officer corps and people like me can go home because they're ready. May I thank you? Please sit. Studied there a lot and a lot more. We'll tell you more about them. The Department of Weapons and Tactical Training. I did stand for me. You're representing there. As it suggests and says, thank you. Trust me, without tactics, the JCF would have no members, I think, alive. Now, I've been there, I've had 42 shootouts, and I don't count near misses. I didn't. I've worked organized crime for the most of my career. We don't count near misses. I've worked many elections. I've seen it. I was in West Kingston. Yeah. I was in St. Thomas when Dopey Flame was alive. Where are you, St. Thomas? You know, you were OST, correct? Yes. I'm just saying, without tactic, we would have been dead, correct? But we thank you and appreciate you. We're going to touch the other faculties because the plan was to have Ms. Dillon in, and then when we are nearest to the benediction, we'll just mention the others. Fair enough? And you'll know more and learn more about the National Police College of Jamaica. Crime is down 24%. When it's up, the police get blamed. Maybe we at training can say, we had something to do with it, correct? So we are going to take a clap for that. Shortly, I'll tell you more about FAMS, the Faculty of Operations. Indeed, and we'll discuss that where the search center and the driver training school resides. We'll talk about the other side that moves people from one level, a constable maybe, speedily to another level. Not overnight, but with a golden pen. Having said that, it's time for us to invite her. Or shall I use re-invite? It's a word, right? You found it? If not, put something over it. Fair enough? Yes. Miss Dillon, I know it's near the 9-night. I tasted just a drop of fermented grape juice. It's already up, you know. And I realized that it's really fermented grape juice. Yes. So we're asking you, I know you'll narrate down enough, but point it straight, because we want to be able to ensure that the ice that is on the fermented side of the thing doesn't water it out. All right? May I invite you also to sort out that last part of the last part. Yes, but you could go on, get them fermented and come if you wish. Thank you, Mr. Dillard. Blessings.
All right, good afternoon again. If you notice, I'm not using a PowerPoint, we want to talk. Because I'm asked to speak about the police and domestic violence. And it's an important area that I need to speak about. So I'm not talking to you on the side of a first responder. We are in a position as law enforcement officers, police officers, that we have to respond on the side of the law as first responders in dealing with domestic violence. But we also find ourselves on the other side of the law where we become perpetrators. I hope I don't get no stone today, right? So we are in a position that we stand in the middle, and we have one side as being responding to incidents of domestic law and violence, and we are guided by the laws and the policies within the JCF. But what does it mean for you as a police officer when you find yourself on the other side, whether you're a victim or perpetrator? How does that help you or allow you to respond to a citizen's complaint about domestic violence, especially when the perpetrator or the victim is one of our own? I'm going to share a little bit of statistics with you. The Domestic Violence Intervention Unit came into being in 2021, October, November 2021. Relatively new unit. And we had to deal with incidents not only involving members of the public, but our own. So imagine you having to talk to your own colleague about domestic violence and what is happening in their own private lives. And that's where I have an issue, because when we make our public life collide with our private life, and then you're expected to respond to citizens, that's where it becomes blurry. So let me share something with you. In 2021, we had 28 officers of the JCF that we know about being perpetrators of domestic violence. That we know about. Not talking about the one that goes directly to the court where family members seek orders and it don't come through the JCF because we never know unless we have to allow somebody time to go to court. Or the document come for us to serve it. These are the cases that we know about that were reported to us. In 2020, it was 28. In 2021, it ballooned to 37. And I'm not talking about constables only, because we talk about domestic violence, we seem to think that it's only constables. Then by 2022, we had 41. Last year, we had 46 that we know about. So every year from 2020, we have had the numbers increase, just as how we have the incidents increasing. What is more profound is that we find that the nature of the incidents gets worse. It's not just exchange of words anymore. We have the beating and the battering. As a matter of fact, since the start of the year, there are 6 cases that I know about that were sent to us. In one of the cases, the policeman visited his ex-partner's workplace and put a gun in her mouth. We are law enforcement officers. We're supposed to uphold the law. So if we cannot treat our members who are perpetrators of domestic violence in the most effective way, do we think the public is going to come to us? I just asked you a question. And when the police are victims and we don't respond, do you think the public is going to trust us to respond to them? I remember when the policeman was murdered in Manchester by his wife, the first comment on social media is, if you cannot protect your own, how do you intend to protect us? So I start that way because oftentimes when we talk about helping police believe that we want them to lose their job. Our first response to incident of domestic violence is never for an officer to lose their job. It's for an officer to get help. And that is why within the Jamaica Constabulary Force, there's the early intervention system. That is why within the Jamaica Constabulary Force, the medical and chaplaincy services branch are integral to domestic violence prevention and intervention. So when our members find themselves be it victims or perpetrators, I talk about victims first. The first thing we do is to have a conversation. We have a conversation with the victim. I want to hear about what is happening. I want to know what you want us to do. Because we talk about survivor-centered approach. It's always about, so tell me, what do you want? And like Mr. Moses, and I was so happy to meet him yesterday, although Sir Notice know me long time, I never met him until yesterday. But I understand because, ladies and gentlemen, when we talk about domestic violence, you have to talk about having empathy. But you must be trustworthy for your own colleagues who want to come to you and say, look here, I have a problem, help me. And what I mean by trustworthy is that when they come to you, no matter how you want to tell somebody else about the story, you have to zip your mouth. Because confidentiality, privacy, factfulness are core features of domestic violence prevention and intervention. I'm very passionate about this job. I'm not passionate because I want to know people's business, because it takes a whole lot out of you. But you have to love people to want to help people. And you're all, many of you in here, are all supervisors and management, in management positions. When your member or a member of your staff needs help, not talk about your best police. Because your best police can't help them. And you may be wondering what I'm saying. When a member find themselves being a victim or perpetrator of domestic violence, they cannot give fully of themselves. We know no all silent and they might have said me chat too much, and if you go sit down, mash up police live. But hear me. If it is that we are to give quality service, we have to ensure that we are in a position to do so. So what the JCF does is to ensure that we implement policies to help. I remember when I started doing this. Well, me get, I'm junior people. But one of the things I've always said when it comes to weapon, be it stone, stick, gun, if you're a perpetrator of domestic violence, you must not be able to have it readily. And when we look at the early intervention system and it say that if a member find themselves or about to find themselves in a position where they bring the JSF into disrepute, there are some things that you can do. And I remember when we started writing to officers to relieve police of their firearm, a lot of police officers say, "You not take away gun, let we expose." But we were not thinking of that. That's long before 2023 and the amendments came. Because there were too many instances when the spouses of police officers come to us. And when they say me go at A station and B station, this is a 10th person I'm talking to about my case, because everywhere I go, I get no help because it's a policeman or a policewoman. And don't fool yourself. The policewoman, them sometimes they stay bad too. Sometimes in some instances, worse than the men as perpetrators. Now, when I said, I not collect no collection today, I not collect no offering today. So I'm not to respond. But I'm telling you, sometimes the women are worse than the men as perpetrators. But as a JCF, we owe it to the members of the public who we swear to serve and protect to ensure that we give of our best. So when you don't a Clarendon, I beat up your wife, and your whole neighborhood know say you are no good police kind of beat up your family. How you are going to tell people, say, look here, do not beat your family. If that is what you are doing. You know how distasteful it is? I had an officer, and I won't tell you where, I don't call name. I'm just sharing something with you. I had an officer who was involved in domestic violence as a perpetrator. And the wife run. She been everywhere and she not get no help. And when she finally, I don't know who gave her my number, she found me. You see, when we went into that community just to check so the wife not tell no lie. And we asked community members right across to tell us about the policeman. I tell you honest God truth, I was happy I didn't go in uniform. That's how embarrassed I was. Because when you hear the people that you're supposed to serve and protect in your own community say that the money can't talk to me. Because every DMBT human, sometimes we have to go rescue her. And when you go and tell her no, ends a bad word. What does that say for brand JCF? Think about it. So when you get a complaint, we're not saying to you that you must believe every complaint because some of them are fabricated. But you must learn to do your own investigations. And you must operate within the policies of the JCF and within the laws. And I'm happy, you know, look here, Minister Granger and me a friend. And I can't talk that anywhere I go. You know why? I don't have to wonder in my head whether or not I'm doing the right thing in recommending that firearms be removed from perpetrators. You know why? Because it's knowing our law. I don't have to talk about offensive weapons or other offensive weapons because it's there. And so as law enforcement officers, as police officers, we have a duty that when we are in need, because we are all Jamaicans, you know, and teeth and tongue meet. But not only teeth and tongue meet, sometimes fist up man kick and box. At what stage do you ask for help? So when we find ourselves, anybody in this room or online or anywhere else, you find yourselves in a situation where it is a potential domestic violence matter, get help. And don't think that domestic violence is limited to Jamaica and the JCF. It happened right across the world. The stresses of law enforcement, the stresses of your job, coupled with the stresses at home, can put anybody over the edge. The question is, at what point do you ask for help? So the domestic violence unit, we don't counsel people. We don't counsel anybody. We assess situation and we call in trained counselors to come help us to help you who may need help. We have the Bureau of Gender Affairs, who we are twins. Mrs. Robinson can tell you, we are twin with the Bureau. And it doesn't matter that we are two separate ministries. We are twin because we're doing the same job. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm leaving one thing with you. And I'm going to share it. We had an officer who found himself on the wrong side. We became aware of it through the Bureau. And that officer did a number of things, a whole heap of stuff. The last thing that that officer did, when he could not find his wife after we had removed her, was to seek information on a lot of stuff under the Access to Information Act. And I'm happy that JCF Legal Affairs Office was able to say, Ms. Dillon, this is what we have as a request. Tell me what go on. And having written back to them, that information could not be released. I'm saying this to say that police officers, I beg you not to use external agencies to help other police officers who are perpetrators of domestic violence. I see eyebrows knitted and wondering what I'm saying. But we have a number of cases where police officers use other agency to get information on victims. And I'm saying this to say that as law enforcement, the public must be able to trust us. The system that is in place will not work if we breach it and if we cannot be trusted. Let the public trust us. And whilst there may be incidents, whilst there may be disagreement, work it out. And if you can't work it out, go get a third party external to help you work it through. And if that don't work, I don't normally tell people to take with themselves. But if it becomes your best interest to do that, take with yourself. Because you cannot be a tainted officer and get the respect of the public. So I hope I say something we get, but continue to work with us so that we make brand JCF the best that it can be.
And if I tell you, thank you, DSP Dillon, representing. I guess you must have learned something from her presentation as well, correct? Correct? I'm seeing you nodding. We are going to test it for 1 golden pen. Who's going to answer? Magically, we will have to recognize the presenter, correct? And we usually do it after 3. Great job. So it's my task to tell you how we will plan this one out. I went there and I had a cup. Smithy tell you. All right, so if you notice and if you walk with me through the timetable, the agenda, the conference document, you'll realize that we are near there. We thought it was just a small amendment to the domestic violence law, correct? And as a result, we would have been complete by maybe 10 o'clock, 11. But there are nuances, there are interplays, correct? And there are things that we had to unravel. And because of that, we couldn't just read a few pages to you. Better yet, based on all of you here, I know you can read. We had to break it down. And we did, didn't we? So I'm going to test knowledge just one last time to ensure that we got it. If you convince me in 3 questions, 3 golden pen, that you have gotten it, then the benediction will come. Promise? Promise? Your correct name, the last presenter. Go ahead, sir. A long time I trying, brother. Golden pen, don't. Yes, please. Yes, please. Congratulations. Great job. Nice. It seems like we can close it. I can tell you about the cup I had. But I want to give out the golden pens first. I'm not the only one who had a cup in hand, you know. Oh, you missed me for a bit, correct? And we are less in liquid content than we started. So I want to make sure, because I'm told it's being pulled rapidly. And I've secured my cup. Squaddy, can you lend me one of those cups, Sharpie? Lend me one of those cups. I'll show you the size. For a golden pen. Nice. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. This side, no sir. Because you have not won much, you know. No, but we took up 20,000 from under the seats here and 20,000 from this side, you know. Yeah. About how much? I was told that it seems like the fermented juice has set in. This side, you deserve this golden pen. I wrote on it, you know, fermented grape juice. And I went outside and I was presented with it. So I urge you to respond to this one. The Commissioner of Police, what is his name? No, Major and a Major General. No, he's not a police, so they won't charge him. Come, yes, yeah. Give us some, yes. Come, yes. Those in cyberspace were warming down. Nice. Because a major and a military general, they're miles, oceans, and 2 roads apart. May I ask you to take congratulatory messages, ON, to you, Golden Pen. Great job. There's one left. No, my brother has been trying for 2 days. This is your no, you have answered question. We have answered though, but this is your question. Fair enough? DVIS. No, you sure I was the only one who went out? Because if I said DVIS and I hear all right. You giving it a try? Squaddy, it's a lucky thing you don't follow people. Because them a take away your blessings. Write credit on it if you want credit with the pen. Nice, nice. Good job. We're coming to the end. I will tell you how we are going to fix it, so you don't have to worry too much. We have golden pens. And the goose that laid the golden pens, I saw. Oh, you see why I shouldn't have been allowed out? How many pages do we have for the amendment to the Domestic Violence Act? If you have evidence, bring forward your evidence and come to it. Because yes, some people are smart. So if yours in the hand of 5 pages, oh, you're not member, say, oh, your mother. I saw her out there, you know. So she has 8 pages in hand and said 5. That's the result of what's to come. It happens so. You have given away your blessings just. All right? Good. NPCJ. All right, so let's get a civilian trying this. She didn't get the mic yet.
Okay. National Police College of Jamaica.
Yes, please. Golden pen. All right, we have 2 golden pens left. Dale, are you here? Write something, you know, so that we can do a digital and a flow and then go into benediction mode. May I thank you. Trust me, I wrote 2 things from morning. Coconut water, and I opened the bottle and I realized it was. I wrote fermented grape juice. I went out and I got it. Do. Write something with it. Thank you. Canberra. Yes. Smile. Yes. All right. Great job. So the power vested in me allows me to do 2 things. We have some faculties, at least one, I was told we didn't get to complete for obvious reasons, because the head of that faculty, the FOMS, is here. And he will, when he gets an opportunity to come to us, will both tell us more about FOMS, especially what the search center does, driver training does. And he too will, being the head and most senior person here and representing the National Police College at this time, will both expose you to his faculty and tell you more about what they do and close this segment. Fair enough? So when you see the person while into juice, you know that it's fermented juice time. So I'll delay him a bit with the powers invested in me as the person here. A few things, and I need you to agree with me. If not, can't do it. The plenary is something that is extremely important. And it requires us to break out for about 5 to 10 minutes and be back at Broadcast Central. No, we can break out for the plenary or do it here. Here, which means that we will count 1 to 4 and break this into 4 pieces. Is that okay? Divide it up so that we have some seats separating us. And then we go for what, 5 or 10? Knowing what we know with time. 5. But would that be good enough to hear from everybody in that cluster? Or we can do it another way. This is option next. But it's more difficult because you could go away and commit to send us your recommendations. Think about it. You prefer the 5 minutes because to lose some more time tonight or tomorrow may lose some people too, correct? So we'll do the 1 to 4 count. And we want to include everybody. let me just ask our permission because it's important that when there's a plenary, everybody participate, but just give me a second. Would you want to participate as well? Great job, we have gotten permission. So everybody will be in that cluster, in your own cluster. I'm making sense? I'm under it. Where's the cup? Yes, I need a cup. Just one. Yes. I'm showing you the size cup that I had out there. And they didn't have ice at the time. Great job. We're counting 1 to 4. Great. We did something like this yesterday, and it took us a while for it to work. We're going to make it happen this time. 1 to 4. Get it? Nice. Let's start with you. They have a documentary about cell phone and police. Let's try this side. Scotty is gone. Scotty is gone. By the time we reach over there and wake up off the cell phone. So we're going to do 1 to 4 because we want to be able to use a democratic process to fix this.